I've been waiting eagerly for this excursion on a glacier and wildlife tour through Kenai Fjords National Park, where I'm hoping to finally check seeing orcas off my bucket list. When you're in Alaska, you do want to prepare to spend some of your budget on excursions, but if you only have budget for one trip, I highly recommend this one. The wilderness, wildlife, and untouched beautiful landscape of Alaska that I saw on this day trip did not disappoint, and this has got to be one of the top adventures that I have been on. The cruise started in the morning at 10 a.m. and we had to get to Kenai Fjords Tours store right by downtown to check in. The sun was shining and it was a beautiful day to head out to sea. When it was time to check in, the group walked down to the dock and waited to get aboard the Glacier Explorer. There's 2 levels on the ship and I headed to the higher deck to check out the ship before it sailed out of the harbor. As it was going to be a full day tour, I also brought a book and my sketchbook to keep me company. It's been about 3 weeks and my time in Seward was slowly coming to a close. This excursion is valued at $200 USD, was free for me as I spent 3 weeks with the naughty otter as a humpbacker. It was such a blessing to be able to get on the cruise for such a small cost. If you want to understand how I got connected with my host in Seward, you can click on the video linked on the top right corner. The excitement kicked in the moment we left the shore as we ventured into the wild waters. The crew got everything ready and we slowly lost sight of land.
As we make our way out around Cape Aialik a little later today, we'll be going to the next fjord over to the west of us. To the right, just over these mountains here, is Aialik Bay, which is also a very much larger fjord. So,
I was carrying a hopeful spirit to see as many wildlife, and for me, I really hoped that we would have luck with orcas today.
Another interesting feature though, notice, a little low tide, kind of hard to see, but notice all those dead gray trees right in the middle of that thing. And those trees have been there since 1964.
We made our way from Seward into the Gulf of Alaska and headed towards Aialik Cape. It got really windy as we headed out to sea, and the bright blue skies had turned into a slight gray hue of clouds. Though the cold drizzle tapped softly against the window, the misty air wrapped the landscape in an almost otherworldly glow. It felt like we were venturing into a hidden realm with towering rock formations looming on either side, adding to the sense of mystery and awe. The ride was a little rocky due to the wave conditions, but as we cruised past, we came across a huge, teeming colony of black-legged kittiwakes.
It's really early in the season, but often you'll see them flying around with the nesting material, and stamp it right down the rocks there, maybe mix in with some mud, a little guano, you can see that there as well. Mix it all together, makes a nice little bed for their eggs. All right, there's a bald eagle here. You see this little cluster of trees go, you see the big cave there directly off the port side of the boat there. Expect to see one. Anyways, I gotta do my job here to keep the boat a little more stable, so stand by.
The captain was highly knowledgeable about the wildlife we encountered and made everyone feel secure throughout the journey with his expert navigation. The crew was equally dedicated, clearly experienced in spotting wildlife, and frequently alerted the captain so he could share sightings with us, ensuring that the trip was both exciting and also informative. As it got colder, I headed inside where the crew served hot burritos and snacks. I enjoyed my lunch while admiring the stunning views, though some passengers were starting to feel seasick. Not before long, I caught a glimpse of bright blue glacier that we were heading towards. The Holgate Glacier is a tidal water and mountain glacier in Aialik Bay that is advancing towards the water. As we inched closer towards the glacier, we could see crystal clear ice formations floating by in the water, and the crowd got excited. The crew even scooped up some of the ice so that we could hold it and take pictures.
Wow.
this one here, Holgate moves up to about 20 feet per day forward. However, it's not overall. I've been coming to this glacier since 1993. It was my first season here working for a competing company with Kenai Fjords Tours. And it's in the exact same spot as it was 30 years ago. And but again, as it moves forward, it comes in contact with the warmer water here and then calves off. Hopefully we see some calving activity today. You notice those sort of caves, you can see those ice caves there. Those generally mark the spot where there's basically subglacial rivers or streams. There is water flowing out between the surface of the rock and the glacier itself.
That was a really cool experience for me and my first time seeing a glacier at such a close distance. If you were lucky enough, you could also see and hear the glacier calving. But after some time, we had to move on to continue with the trip. I was reading my book as we cruised away from the glacier when we received some exciting news from the captain.
All right, everybody. Well, it looks like we found a pod of tour boats just ahead. And that leads me into what we're really here for. There is a couple of humpback whales spotted here, and there's a lot of rules we need to follow when observing these animals. And one, we don't want to crowd all the boats around them, so I made an arrangement. One of these boats is about to leave, so we're going to just hold still until that boat leaves, then we'll sort of swap in and take its place. But the whales are just, you see the group of boats in front of us here, just to the left. Keep your eyes open here. Humpback whales, by the way, can hold their breath.
For you. They do, they are off the endangered species list. My first year on a whale watch boat, I was 19 years old, way back in the day, and animals return year after year. So we give them their space, especially when they have young ones with them. You certainly have that. This appears to be a cow and a calf, a mom and her baby, boat and the calf. And what I'm seeing here is that this mom's pretty trusting of us. The calf is actually on the other side. There's Junior. And it takes about up to about 2 years before mom will wean the calf there and kind of kick him out of the house. So that little one there is probably about 2 years old. What happens is that when the whale comes to the surface, their blowholes, and notice I said blowholes plural, they actually have two. They sit side by side like human nostrils there. When they come to the surface, there's a couple cups of water that rests on top of the little cup-like structure behind their, in front of their blowholes there. And when they exhale at a rate of about 200 miles per hour.
Oh. Whale watching requires patience and a keen eye. We scanned the horizon for spouts, the misty blows that signal a whale's presence. If you keep watching closely, you're often rewarded with the graceful arc of a tail known as a fluke, dipping back into the water. About 3 hours into the trip, I started feeling a bit seasick. Leaning over the table helped ease the nausea, but I remained hopeful for more wildlife sightings. Every trip out here is definitely unique, with possible encounters including humpback whales, orcas, sea lions, puffins, bears, and more. Since these are wild animals, sightings aren't guaranteed, but making each adventure truly one of a kind. No two trips are ever the same, and that is part of the magic. Every traveler gets their own unique experience to remember. The wind whipped across the deck as we cruised onward, seemingly without end. The captain's voice crackled over the speaker, sharing random facts that didn't quite hold my attention.
Unfortunately, it's not a tidewater glacier, meaning we can't take the boat right up to it. Believe it or not, though, just on the other side of this, you see the trees there, that's actually the...
Then, He paused, and with a grin in his voice, he admitted that he couldn't keep the secret any longer. All this time, we had been heading straight for a pod of orcas that had just been spotted nearby. We rushed out to the deck, excitement bubbling inside me. This was a truly magical moment. After waiting all day, we finally saw the orcas, their sleek bodies gliding through the water, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. I kept my eyes peeled to the surface of the water and didn't capture much footage, since my GoPro also couldn't do it justice anyway. I put the camera down and simply soaked the moment in, letting the beauty of the experience take over. At the end of the tour, we headed to Fox Island and were treated to a scrumptious buffet. That concluded the day trip, and we were even treated with a full rainbow as we pulled into Seward. All in all, what made the trip enjoyable was the incredible crew. The guides were so knowledgeable, pointing out wildlife and explaining the history of the area, and made sure that everyone felt safe. Plus, with an experienced captain at the helm, I felt really secure. People who find themselves in Alaska don't just end up in Alaska. This place has so many unique qualities that attract people who are looking for wild, pristine nature and a certain way of life. If you only had time or resources for one trip, I highly recommend going on this incredible glacier and wildlife cruise with Kenai Fjords tour. Do follow along for more travel adventures and all things about living abroad. Thank you for your time and see you in the next one. Bye!